following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
Back to another Artist Cave. Today, I have something a little special. Instead of drawing, I'm just going to go over some of the books that I really enjoy. Some of these books I've read probably 100 times over, some of them maybe once or twice. But the influence from them has been huge. First off, I wanted to start with something a little newer here. Oh, there goes my watercolor tissues. The first book I have here is My Hero Academia by Shonen Jump. I just recently got into it. Actually started watching the show after Dragon Ball Super ended, and I watched the show and I was like, I gotta read the manga because the manga is always better. And definitely recommend this book. I call it X-Men in Japan. The premise is that most of the population in the world has quirks, which are superpowers, and they have to go to school if they want to get a license to be a superhero. And it's about this little guy right here who does not have a quirk, and he gets his power passed down from All Might. His name is Deku. Really enjoyed this book. I highly recommend it if you're into shonen, which is Japanese action books, martial arts type stuff. So one of my favorites now. I've already read this book probably 2 or 3 times over. I haven't picked up any of the other volumes just because, art supplies come first, right? This one's a hard pill to swallow because George Paris recently just retired, and he's probably one of the biggest influences for me. Illustration itself, my old teacher Jack Latour was the reason why I got into illustration, pen and ink type stuff. But what made me want to become a comic book artist was George Paris's work, and Superman's one of my favorite superheroes. And Crisis on Infinite Earths. This book, I just recently got the deluxe edition, which the pages look better, brighter. It is a little hard to read because of the spine on hardcover, but if you are a DC fan, if you have never read any of the Crisis books, I recommend starting here. It is a long read, but it's so worth it. This is back then when they could fit 10, 11 panels on a page and still have a cohesive story. The deluxe edition has a wraparound cover, not just the sleeve, but you have this picture here, which is awesome. Spoiler alert, this is the book that Barry Allen dies in. So if you're a fan of The Flash, be ready to cry some man tears or girl tears if you're Another one of my favorites, and I only picked this one because all my Hellblazer books are actually in that comic box back there. So I just grabbed the graphic novel that I have here. Warren Ellis, his run on Hellblazer is right behind Garth Ennis's stuff, and highly recommend it. If you like John Constantine, this is the story that he originated from. Excuse me. This is another really great book called Kingdom Come. In this story, Superman, Flash, Green Lantern, the originals, they kind of retire because all these new superheroes who do a different type of justice start taking over the world. Superman gets tired of the way they're doing things, and they come back, and that's why he looks a little older. I believe this takes place in Earth 22, if I remember correctly, and it's amazing. Alex Ross, his art style is just, it's something to marvel at. The fact that he, painted all these pages, like some of this stuff is highly recommended. What I would do is pick up Crisis on Infinite Earths, Infinite Crisis, and then just getting into DC Comics. Good starting point. This is awesome because obviously everybody knows Batman, Superman, so it's a good starting point. Then I have Preacher. Got into this because I picked up a whole stack of Hellblazer just to finish my collection at my local comic book shop, First Spring Comics, and I was just like, man, I love Hellblazer. Mike at the shop, the shop owner actually, he was just like, dude, if you like Hellblazer, you need to read Preacher. And he told me basically the synopsis of it, and I was just like, yeah, I gotta pick it up. So I started picking them up one by one. I have the whole collection back here, but if you haven't watched the AMC show, it is awesome. Deviates a little bit from the book, but what doesn't deviate from the book these days? The basic premise is that an angel and a devil or a demon have a baby called Genesis, and it possesses this preacher, and now he has the voice of God in him, so he can pretty much control anybody. Probably up there with Hellblazer and Sandman as, my all-time favorite books. This one's not a comic, actually. This is just art itself. I'm a huge Norman Rockwell fan. I just love his paintings, and I picked this one up at Goodwill, actually, and it just goes over the history of what, different paintings that he's done and the background behind it. So if you're a fan of painting, Norman Rockwell, Americana, highly suggest picking up this book. It's by Arthur L. Guptill. There's other Norman Rockwell stuff out there, but I'm just a fanboy of any art book. It looks like it was a textbook at one point, another Goodwill pickup, History of Art, and it just goes over art where ancient history, medieval and modern times, how art has changed throughout the years. So those are some of the books that I have. Obviously I got a whole collection of books down here, but I didn't want to pick them all out and make a huge mess. But some honorable mentions, obviously Dragon Ball Z. I'm a huge Dragon Ball Z fan. I have some anatomy books, but I didn't want to get striked for inappropriate stuff on YouTube. But yeah, this is some of the books. Especially if you're just getting into art, I recommend picking up, the history of art. And if you want some storytelling, Warren Ellis, Garth Ennis, and Wolfman, who did Crisis on Infinite Earths, Jeff Johns, probably one of the best writers these days for DC Comics, and now he's kind of running. I think he's running the TV portion of it, and yeah, I definitely check it out. There's also, I have some other art books. Art books are a good way to get an idea of what your style is going to be, and nice tips and tricks. But that's pretty much it for today's Artist Cave. I just wanted to kind of show a little bit of my book collection, because there's a lot of games on YouTube, but no one ever really talks about books. So thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to keep it over 9,000.